Hello and welcome to Nine of Kevin, the only game show that'll have you asking, why and how is a person named Kevin connected to this natural disaster or national tragedy? But we couldn't do Nine of Kevin without your host, the immaculate, the impeccable, the inimitable, and the apocalyptic Kevin Day.
Wow, that's probably the best intro I've ever had in my life. Thank you.
Yes, and as always, would you like to start the show by reminding everybody what national tragedy that you're linked to?
I mean, I did bomb a few federal buildings in my time, but we're good now.
Sure, yeah, and that's just one of the many incidents linked to Kevin's across the globe. That's right. This show seeks to find those links, and if you find one, you can win real cash money. I don't know, man. Kevin's here, y'all. I tried to do the show without Kevin. Just
I know you recorded it, but I haven't listened to that yet. How did that go?
I wouldn't, it was kind of like, we had a lot of failures happen that day. Not you, but,
no, I'm a failure. It's okay. You can say it.
I'm just saying, like, a lot of things went wrong. Well, not a lot of things went wrong. Just I was dealt a bunch of fuck yous. And the first one was, of course, the only live show that aired on Schraub Home Video, last weekend. Was the Abed Hour, of course, and he had to bring a special guest, a little improv comedian you might know.
Oh no, that wasn't
Davis.
That wasn't last. That's coming up.
Okay, so in the future, I'm spoiling this. This is just for the podcast listeners, I guess unless you're a deadhead. But Abed is having freaking Jeff Davis on.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that too.
Yeah, I think we were all a little surprised to find that out. It's interesting because. Abed, great guy, lovely guy. I'd love to be interviewed by him. I can't fault Jeff for that, But Jeff doesn't have his face in the logo of the Abed Hour, as far as I'm aware.
No, he does not.
And Jeff also hasn't formally quit this podcast. So he's like, oh yeah, the weekend's here. Better record a show for Schraub Home Video. I'm, of course, talking about the Abed Hour. This is me. This is my thought process. I'm Jeff Davis. So that was the first fuck you. The second fuck you was Kevin. This is a soft fuck you because Kevin, he couldn't make it. So it's like, well, it's fine. I don't need Jeff. I got Kevin. But then there wasn't Kevin. But what's interesting is we recorded the episode, or I recorded the not episode. I don't know, and maybe we'll release it to the Patreons. You could join the Patreon. I don't know, but I'm talking, of course, about a Patreon that does not exist. But that one we didn't have Kevin. But if you go and open up, your Adobe Premiere or however you edit podcasts, you'll see that there was one set of tracks in the digital workspace, and that was when Kevin was carrying us. You see. So he wasn't there physically, but he was there in spirit. He was making that show happen, and he even was making it so that show didn't even have to happen by being here today and letting us do a record today. So that is softer fuck you. And then the third fuck you is our guest that I had scheduled for that day didn't show up. No, it was a no call, no show. So of course he gets one more of those until and then he will be fired as a guest. That's the policy. You get one call, no show. Second one, that's it. Tournament termination. So we'll see how that goes. But it was just a day of defeat. And I'm not talking about my foot fetish, of course. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Okay. But so yeah, it sucked. And the episode that I tried to record was, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 minutes. And it was, I'm not going to say it was mostly me bitching and moaning, but that was a theme, It definitely colored the podcast introduction, but we moved on to bigger and better things. And then we moved on to even bigger and better things, which is a real podcast record. Who even knows what's going to happen, So it was a bummer. And not because of Kevin, but it was a bummer. But Kevin's back, he's carrying us once again. Kevin's a ADC, as they call it in League of Legends, which is attack, damage, carry, I think. I don't know. Kevin does great attack damage. You might not know, he's humble. You might not know this about Kevin, but he has insane DPS. It's nuts.
I am a glass cannon. Yeah.
Kevin's a glass cannon. Yeah. But what's up, Kevin? So do you want to talk about what happened? Why you weren't here?
Sure. I mean, yeah.
You sound so excited.
Well, it's a weird situation. So I was on Saturday just kind of hanging out all by myself in the house, watching movies, kind of just chilling. And then actually, no, that was Friday night. And my Apple Watch at one point starts telling me, "Hey, your resting heart rate's a little high." And I'm like, well, that's weird because I'm just sitting here, it's not even a scary movie. So I don't really know, why that would happen. So I just went, okay, watch must be broken. And then like a couple hours later, it did that again. And then around 8:00, I'm not really sure what happened, but I started feeling really bad. I could feel like some pain in my chest. And then all of a sudden, like my phone was calling 911 and saying that, I was having heart problems.
Were you having a myocardial infarction?
No, actually, it was just incredibly high heart rate for no good reason. Yeah. So it's tachycardia is what they call that.
Right.
And so I didn't really know what to do. The 911 operator tried convincing me to have an ambulance come. And I was like, I feel fine. I'll just go to urgent care and see what's going on. And so she's like, okay, well, the nearest urgent care location to you is here. Go there, and then I'll let them know you're coming. And I get there, and they're closed, which seemed
great,
odd. So then I drove to the next closest one, and they also were closed. So I'm like, well, at this point, I might as well just drive to the hospital. And I get to the hospital and they were like already like waiting for me there. Apparently the 911 people had phoned ahead them to tell them I was coming. And they were like,
that's a weird situation. They phoned a third location without,
but didn't tell me this.
Yeah. And so just really quickly, sorry to cut you off, but there's a difference between urgent care and emergency room. Is that correct?
Yeah. And what I later found out was urgent care would not have seen me anyway. They would have just sent me to the ER anyway. They said for chest pains and heart problems, they're just not equipped to deal with that anyway. So
yeah, what is even the difference though? I thought like the main difference was just that usually urgent care is only open during like normal business hours, and then it like becomes like an emergency room or something. Well, but it sounds like there's differences.
Yeah, I mean, other ones. Weirdly, so the urgent care by me is actually like attached to a Home Depot, and it. So maybe not the best place I could have gone to, but no, it's like a step down from the emergency room. It's like, if you're having a nosebleed that won't stop at 2 a.m, it's not really worth going to the ER for, right. Or if you need to quickly see a doctor and your doctor can't get you in quickly enough, you go to urgent care. It's no appointment, see a doctor immediately kind of thing. So, but yeah, apparently if you're having chest pains, that's go to the ER anyway. And I got there and they took it way more seriously than I thought that I was going to. Like there was a line of people waiting in I don't know if you've been to an ER recently, but with COVID and RSV and the flu and everything, it's normally pretty packed, but they were like, no, we're seeing you right now, which kind of concerned me because I was still kind of thinking this was not a big deal.
You've been talking about RSV a lot lately. Is RSV like a thing that's just I'm missing out on? Like, is this just on everybody's radar but me?
Well, I think it's on my mind a lot because I live with a 4-year-old that goes to daycare, and apparently children just spread it like crazy.
Right, it's like a kid thing. Yeah.
It is. I mean, adults get it too, but it's kids spread it all the time. But yeah, it's like apparently like, after COVID, the second most common infectious disease at the moment. So there were a lot of people in for stuff like that. So they took me in, and at first they were just treating this like, yeah, you've got a high heart rate. Maybe you're having a panic attack you don't realize you are, or things like that, but we want to find out. And then, all of a sudden they talked to a cardiologist and looked at some things. And then they were like, hey, we're coming in here to like shave your chest hair off in case you have to have surgery right now. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they took this very, very seriously for a little bit.
That's very alarmist for high the heart rate.
Yeah. Well, they went back and forth as to what the cause was. And we're a little worried that I might have like a blood clot that was, making my heart unhappy, or that like I was not showing normal symptoms, but like a step away from a heart attack or something like that. Or they were just later they told me they were just trying to prepare for everything. But at the time, the message I felt like I was getting was, you're about to have heart surgery with no warning. So we're just going to prep you for it right now.
And that was Friday night that happened.
Yeah.
You know how late it was?
I went in at 8 p.m.
And when were they shaving you?
That was around 1 a.m. by that point. And then, but they just kept like monitoring me, and they're going like, your heart's fine right now. There's no signs of like, I guess when your heart has problems, it releases different hormones and different things into your blood. And they're like, you have none of those.
So no like heart stress hormones detected in the blood or something.
None.
Right?
They were like, you have like, they kept doing blood test after blood test after blood test. And they were like, your potassium is slightly low, which might be the cause of this, but like normally that doesn't cause things of this level. Like, I don't know, if you have low potassium, you get like muscle spasms and muscle cramps and things like that. Like it makes your muscles not work right. And they're like, it's a hair low. So they kept making me take potassium pills.
Right. But hopefully your heart isn't the first thing to fail when you start to have a nutrient dip. Right. Right. That's weird.
That's kind of what I was hoping for too. And then I guess I sort of took the attitude of, well, like if something bad's going to happen, let's make it happen right now. So they put me on a treadmill. Like they went from like, okay, try to move as little as you can, keep your heart rate low, don't stress out about anything. You just want to keep calm.
Well, at first they were like, this guy's heart's about to explode. And then when it didn't, they were like, we got to make this guy's heart explode.
Right. So then they were like, yeah, so we're going to put you on a treadmill until basically you just can't take it anymore. So they hooked me up to like a million things. I went on a treadmill, and they were like, yeah, you're surprisingly healthy. Like they're like, what's your workout regimen? And I'm like,
hey, sure, you look like shit, but hey, you're on the treadmill. Like,
yeah. And I'm like, well, because what they said to me was like, so every 2 minutes the treadmill's going to get harder. We would really, really like it if you could make it at least 6 minutes. That's the, where we would be happy with. But if you can't do 6 minutes, it's fine. It's fine. And I just kept going, and she's like, okay, so obviously you're you're working out, or you're an athlete or something like that. And I'm like, no, I sit on the sofa all day. I don't do
this. Would really shake my confidence in medicine if like it seems like you're getting a lot of just bizarrely off kilter like responses and ideas in a lot of different directions that all seem very not right.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, to their credit though, they were just trying to figure out everything. They're like, you're showing you obviously had something go wrong, but we can see nothing wrong with you right now. So we're just going to throw the book at it and try everything.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, basically it ended up with them going, there's no point in keeping you here any longer because you're not showing any symptoms. There's really nothing wrong with you. So
was your heart still beating fast?
By the time I got to the ER, it was completely normal.
Got it. Yeah.
And at no point, they had me hooked up to heart monitors the entire time. And at no point did it do it again. My blood pressure was a little high when they were like, hey, you might have surgery in a second. But other than that, there was really nothing to say. So they've left it with, as soon as I can get into a cardiologist, they're going to put me on this like home heart monitor for about a month or two. That's just going to record everything, and they're going to just see if anything weird happens at that point.
So I didn't talk too much about, or I mean, it's been a while rather since I talked about it, but I had a heart event too that was similar, where it just like I would get like arrhythmias, but like also my pulse would quicken a lot, and for me, it turned out, I'm pretty sure, like they didn't say this, but I'm pretty sure it was just a drug interaction. I stopped taking the medicine, and it got better. But it was meth. My doctor prescribed me meth. He said he called it weight loss pills, and I was like, I think this is meth. And he's like, yeah, you're gonna want to wear a mouth guard when you smoke this. And I was like, how do you smoke a pill? Like, that doesn't make sense. No, but it was not. I don't know. It was, what was it? It was like an anxiety medication or something. But yeah, so I got the heart monitor at some point. I think I was just following up. Like at this point, like they were like, you're fine. And then I went to a cardiologist and they did the same thing. They also gave me a stress test. And I was also like, I thought these were supposed to be hard. Like, I'm tired, but I thought I was supposed to go until like I literally collapse. And they were like, no, wow, you're really doing it. And I'm like, I mean, okay. Did they was it speed? The treadmill just speed? Because for me, they put an angle and they kept increasing the angle.
They did both. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And that
it was just the angle. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It was getting hard, but they were like, you want to stop? And I'm like, I could do this for as long as you want.
Right. It's not that it's like impossible. It's not like I'm like, oh, I'm a big, strong guy, but it's like, this is for science. To the extent that we want data, I'm going to go as hard as possible until like we're done collecting data. It's like, that's what we're here for, you know? But I ended up getting a heart monitor, which it sucked because they didn't, the thing about the heart monitor is it has a button. The one I got, it has a button that you click it when you have a heart event, like if you're feeling it, and then it's supposed to be recording the whole time, but clicking it's supposed to give you a timestamp, and then you're supposed to write the timestamp in the journal, but it's supposed to not matter if you write it in the journal because clicking it's supposed to give a timestamp. And so I clicked it a few times because my pace or my pulse would quicken. And then when I sent it back, they were like, everything's normal. And I was like, what about the times I clicked it? And they're like, we don't see that. And I was like, wait, what? Like, so there's no data. You didn't see anything from that. There's nothing, not like my heart didn't race during those points. They're like, nah, but it was weird because they shave you to put it on. Right. And then they give you, what's it called? A scratch pad, because you know, this is a common adhesive trick. You want a rough surface for an adhesive to apply to, right? So they want you to scratch up your skin to roughen it so the adhesive would stick better, which, I mean, skin's already porous and it's not smooth on like a micro level. Like, it's probably fine, but I really scratched the shit out of my chest. It was very uncomfortable. And the whole time I was wearing it, it was like, not in pain, but it was like uncomfortable because I like, you know, scratched up my skin.
Oh yeah.
And then there was sticky on it though for a week or whatever.
Well, what sucked was when they first brought me in, they didn't even bother with like, hey, just I'm half a time. I'm a hairy guy. And so like, they were just like slapping these sticky things all over me, and they kept not getting them in the right place. So they would like rip them off, and it was like being waxed, you know? Yeah. And so like they would pull the sticky thing off, and it would be more hair than sticky thing left. Yeah. So I was actually kind of happy that they were like, okay, we're shaving your chest now.
Yeah. It's like, now this is affecting.
Yeah.
That's wild, man. Well, yeah. I'm glad you're better. Hopefully it's nothing. Do you have any family history? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so what I found interesting, I texted you part of this, was so there's this new law where the hospitals have to release to you all of your records, including like the doctor's notes and nurse's notes and everything. And so like I highly recommend anybody who's in the hospital do this, because you can see what they were saying about you. And my favorite part of this was like, so they were like commenting on me of like, you know, like, did you seem to know where you were and things like that? But, you know, they said general appearance, alert, cooperative, consistently funny. And I thought that was really nice. but then a little bit further down, which may indicate lack of awareness of the seriousness of this situation. So I'm like, wait, like you guys were telling me not to stress out. So I'm like trying to be funny and joking and everything. And then later they're like, God, he must not realize how serious this is. When
that's like another red flag. It's like you gotta be a human. What are you fucking thinking? Like it's like, oh, he's not taking this serious. It's almost like he's nervous and trying to play it down. That's so weird.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I pulled my records too after you brought that up because it's been a while, but I went to the hospital for the heart thing, and it was a bummer because like all the notes said ugly, and I was like, I don't see how that's relevant to what's happening here. Yeah. Well, but I was going to ask, do you have a family history of heart problems?
None. No.
That's nice, at least. I do. My grandpa had like quadruple bypass and more complications down the road. And both of my parents have had surgery for some kind of tachycardia. I used to know what it was called, but it was the same kind of tachycardia, which
supraventricular SVT.
Yeah, SVT is what it was.
That's
SVT.
what they think I had. Yes.
Yeah. And so my dad got something for it. I don't know what, but my mom got like a surgery where they because your heart's controlled by electrical signals, and they did a surgery where they went in with what amounts to a soldering iron or some shit and just burnt out some circuits on the heart that control the heart to stop that from happening. And that just is very extreme to me. Like we're gonna burn out bits of the what amounts to like the computer chips of your heart, because they keep glitching. So that's kind of what I mean. Other than like when I get a pretty increased heart rate, which is standard when I smoke weed, but sometimes it gets really high. But other than that, I get high and it gets high. But other than that, I don't get it too often. Other than that incident, which is good. But I fully expect to have some sort of I expect my death is going to be heart related. That's my kind of assumption. Not good. It's a very crucial piece of hardware to be constantly fearing for.
It is, and it seems like it's something that we just don't know a lot about, for it being so important. Like it doesn't seem like there are a lot of good tools to diagnose these sort of things. Like you're diagnosing based off of disconnected things, like you can't really tell if your heart is stressed, but you can tell, did it release this hormone that says it's stressed,
right? Yeah.
Why.
So you could see those hormones, and you can see signs of active damage. Like if your heart was damaged, for instance, if you had a very mild heart attack or something, they can detect that. But there isn't a lot of pre-detection other than like blood pressure and stuff like that. Like there's not a lot of good signs on that. And if they're not actively catching it doing something, there's also just not a lot of like ways they can proceed, because they just don't see the problem. It's good if you get an EKG and they capture, when I got an EKG, I told them to, I don't know why, but I was like, I feel like you should just keep it on for a bit longer. And they left it on for like 2 more minutes. And during that extra 2 minutes, my heart had an arrhythmia that they picked up, and they looked at it and they're like, oh, that's normal. And I was like, that's normal? Like what? But if they don't see it, that they can't even like guess what it's going to be really.
Right.
But yeah, it's not good. And also it's just delicate, I mean, the heart has apparently an amazing ability to heal itself and kind of deal with its own problems. Like apparently if you start getting clogged arteries, your heart will try to just grow new arteries. So it's like you have the blocked one, then surrounding it, you might have like 7 or 8 like cluster of, other arteries and veins that are just essentially rerouted, that same blood. And, then when you have clogged arteries, it can be really dangerous because you can throw a clot, all over the body. So there's not a lot of things you can do, because if you start tinkering in there and then you start, kicking clots around, and that can be lethal. Whereas before it might have been a stable situation or something, So it sucks.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
that was what was so surprising to me was because like at first they thought I might have had a clot. Like they did some imaging on me, like, hey, there's this little weird shadow that might be a clot. So we're going to call in a
Jesus.
cardiologist to come look at this. And while they're waiting for that, they're like, okay, you're going to go on the treadmill now. And I'm like, well, wait, if I've got a clot, isn't that just going to knock it loose and possibly make
kill
things
me?
worse? But apparently not. So
What was the shadow? Didn't they look at it?
yeah, they actually brought in a second cardiologist even to come look at this, and they kind of went, I don't think that's anything. I think that's nothing. That's nothing to do with your heart whatsoever. So don't worry about
An
that.
abnormality in the heart has nothing to do with the heart. That's interesting. Like another interesting assertion by modern medicine. That's why I go to the acupuncturist. Get all when my heart stops, I get some needles in me, and that I'm right as rain. Then they give you these little Chinese pills, which are just perfectly spherical. These black little spheres. Interesting stuff.
And I did spend a lot more time than I ever would have thought convincing nurses I was male, because somebody, I guess, when they were checking me in, checked the wrong box. Like my little bracelet thing they gave me said female. Everything they were looking up kept saying female. And I was really impressed with how tactful everybody was along the whole process. Because I guess once that's set that way, there's just no way of fixing it short of deleting you and starting over again. So I'd have people come in and go, listen, so are you on hormone treatments right now? And I was really confused at first. I'm like, no. And they're like, it's fine if you are. We're not here to judge. We don't care. But this is going to affect possibly medication we give you, and we need to know what's normal. So please, can you just tell us, are you taking hormones right now? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And it took them probably, 45 minutes of going back and forth and around in circles before they finally explained to me why they kept asking me the same question over and over again. So I was impressed by that. It was a little confusing, a little silly, especially once I understood it, having to deal with that. Every single person that walked into the room asking me that same question again. But it was nice how accepting they were of that, if that was the case.
Yeah, it's nice, other than it seems like their kind of daintiness around the subject made it harder to actually understand what they were talking about and what was happening practically.
Right. Well, I think they probably just they never had a mistake like that before, and they probably did have experience with people being shy to admit that.
100%.
So I think that's where that came from.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's what a weird world. It's just, I was like, I wonder how that happened. It's probably just a mistake. But what if you're one of these guys who has extra chromosomes, You know about this? You heard about this?
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, I don't, but they maybe they know something I don't.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, is maybe that's why that box got checked. But that doesn't make sense. That makes even less sense than just a simple mistake. And it doesn't pass Occam's razor. But I don't know. Well, glad you're with us. Glad you could be here today doing the podcast. Glad we got 30 minutes out of it. That's great.
Hey, honestly, I did this so we'd have something to talk about today.
I had that suspicion. That's like a weird, I don't remember what it's called. It's not Munchausen's, because that's when you do it. No, it is Munchausen's. It's like some weird Munchausen's thing. I'm constantly having health events so I could talk about something on the podcast.
You keep making us take energy drinks to give me a heart problem. It was my theory.
It doesn't. It's part of it, I'm sure. It's not going to help. Jason, the Starburns audio guy, he died. That's all. That's the end of that sentence. No, but he used to slam energy drinks, a lot, especially towards the end there. And I'm sure that wasn't the cause, but
I used to too. I basically all day I was drinking Monsters and Red Bulls and stuff like that, but I quit that many years ago just because I felt like it was affecting my sleep. And, I wouldn't say I was addicted or dependent on it, but I would feel such a difference if I wasn't drinking them.
Caffeine. Go ahead.
Yeah. It became, I realized it was becoming a problem. And honestly, I wish I could get caffeine free Red Bulls or Monsters or something, because I would drink those without the caffeine's not why I drank those,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but nobody makes those.
Yeah, caffeine is the the most widespread addiction, certainly in America and probably the world. But it's just not particularly dangerous in the short term, especially at typical dosages. But it is an addiction. It does cause a dependency. I stopped drinking soda for a long time because I would get it. I would just crash hard and get really irritable and depressed and stuff when I wouldn't have a Coke. And sometimes it would be like, man, why does everything suck? And it's like, oh, you haven't had a Coke in 2 days. And it's like, this is bad. And then, so I stopped drinking soda and I was like, man, I can't wait for my energy levels to return and no longer be dependent on caffeine. Turns out, no, you just don't get that energy back. It's just, that's old age. You no longer have that battery. The only way you can juice it is with caffeine. So that was a bummer. To be all like, I guess I'm just tired forever. And then I started drinking soda, and now my life's so much better. Certainly a lot more delicious. I'll tell you that, man. But yeah, I don't know, man. What do we talk about? So I guess the first thing to talk about is D&D. We've been covering the D&D, whatever. That's been happening. There's been 2 movements. The second movement is more impactful than the first, but the first movement bears talking about just in terms of the saga. After the flop of the 1.1 OGL, they went forward with a 1.2 OGL, which was interesting. It was submitted publicly, intentionally, and they solicited feedback and comments on it in order to change any, details that were upsetting. So what we've talked about in the past is they wanted 3 things. What did they want? They want to be able to crack down on hate speech and bullying. They wanted to deal with NFTs, and they wanted to get a cut of the profits. So they definitely said no profits. We're not going to track your creations. We're not going to take a cut of that. We're not doing that. We still want to do the bullying thing, be able to ban people for harassment and bullying. And I'm pretty sure they narrowed the NFTs language to be just NFTs and not like before it was like a wider class of things that was meant to cut down on NFTs, but it also picked up, it also banned other stuff. And so those were the main changes. The 1.2 itself was a lot more complicated. I feel like it was intentional. Like it was a lot more legalese, like a lot more normal looking, like what you'd expect when you're looking at a contract. I've worked in Hollywood, and you sign contracts and you look at the contracts, and they're interpretable, but they can be a bit hard to parse, certain parts especially. But the first the 1.1 OGL was very plain English, very normal. And then the second one, the 1.2, was very in the weeds, very hard to parse. And I think that was intentional. Like I think they did that so that people would have a harder time reading it and understanding what the terms were. Another part of the 1.2 is that they released D&D the D&D SRD 5.1 or whatever which is the rule set, into the Creative Commons license, which I think is basically public domain. Do you know anything about that, Kevin? Is that the same thing?
It's close to public domain, but not quite. There's you set some very specific rules of just like, you can say, can you make commercial works or not? Or do you have to attribute where you got the original work from? So I think the one they went for, really the main restriction is you just can't claim it was yours, and you can't not say where you got the source material from. You have to credit them in some way. Yeah. But other than that, it's pretty open.
So they did that, and to me that was like they wanted to get points for that. It's like this is a show of good faith. I'm trying to look up the actual OGL. It was a show of good faith. It's like, oh, we're making this yours. It's not just the OGL. It's also where is it? It's also the fucking Creative Commons. But like what I talked about in the past was that they don't have the legal standing to control everything that's in the SRT, like because that's uncopyrightable. uncopyrightable game rules. So the idea that they're putting it in the Creative Commons license is like, hey, come on, give us free points for nothing. It's like,
well,
it's
the way
really
I
weird.
interpreted it was maybe a little like more charitable, as sort of like a, hey, different countries have different rules.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's true. I was thinking about America.
This is sort of a gray area where even though most people agree that we couldn't go after you for this, we still might try. So here, there's nothing up our sleeves. We're not going to try that down the road.
Right.
But maybe I'm being too generous
legal
there.
No, I think you're right. There actually is legal protection under Creative Commons. That wouldn't have been the case. But, in theory, they wouldn't have been able to do that either. They would just, a big corporation can engage in what amounts to legal harassment, and this gives you more protection than they had otherwise. I'm trying to think. There was the thing is, the 1.2 one actually rubbed me more the wrong way than the other one before. So, if you're tracking my arc, I've been a contrarian. I don't really care about this. But then reading the text of this, I was like, well, this kind of is, to me, worse than the 1.1 in a couple ways. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I'm not really seeing what I was mad about. I'd have to give it a thorough read, but I don't remember. But so, as you might guess, they released the 1.2, and everyone was just as mad, if not worse. And they're like, we're not accepting any of this. This is bad. They can always change the license and everything in the future, whatever, etc. It didn't make anyone happy. It even made me less happy, that's easy to do. Let's be honest. The other thing is, I think they were like, I think part of the SRD they put into the Creative Commons license is the names of certain trademark monsters like beholders and owlbears and stuff, mind flayers, etc. And people were, and I think this is a bad legal reading, but people are like, oh my God, did you see they put that in the Creative Commons? That means anyone can use all that shit. But I don't think that's what it means, because they've been clear that you can use those names. They just can't be for their iconic trademark of what those monsters are. You could call something a beholder and it could have eyes, but it can't have one main eye with the magic cone of, a cone of magic suppression and then 10 eye rays. You can have something called a mind flayer, but it can't be these octopus men that do this and eat these brains, So I think people were misinterpreting that because, I don't know, but who knows? I'm not a fucking lawyer. Wouldn't that be crazy if I was like a lawyer? I don't know, whatever. Anyway, so then they did another mea culpa, and they were like, you know what? No, we're going to leave it. We're just going to leave it as is. We're sorry. Which I thought that's what they said before, but I guess they went forward with the 1.2. But they're like, no, we're not changing. We're sorry. And as you can guess, that made everyone more mad somehow. They're like, you fucking piece of shit. You still are bad. And we're never going to live. People were like, we can never let wizards live this down. Which is like, I mean, I don't. What more? They don't have a time machine. What more could you I don't know. And people are mad because it's like, they could still technically change it. It's like, yeah, even if they said they're not going to change it, they still probably could technically change it. I think, I don't know. It's just, again, my whole thing is just, it's their shit, man. They could do whatever they want. I don't know. But I remember, I didn't get in a lot of arguments on Twitter about this, but I remember a particular exchange, which I don't know, whatever. I get what they were saying. They were like, the person said something like, wizards need to remember that they didn't make Dungeons and Dragons. We did. And it's like, well, no, they made Dungeons and Dragons. They made it. It's theirs. I get if you're trying to make the argument oh, it wouldn't have been what it was if not for the fans. Whatever. But
yeah,
it wasn't this crop of fans that's currently mad that made D&D what it was. It was decades and decades of other fans, so it's just, it felt like this is I get what they're saying, but to me it's like, this is exactly what I don't like about fans, is they're like, I did this, and it's like, you literally didn't. you would be fucking. You'd be playing Shadowrun or something, or Shadowrun wouldn't exist. I don't know. But it's just I don't know. No, whatever. End result is they backed off. I think we win. Everyone's still mad. Everyone's still moving to other systems, which again I think is good for RPGs. Whatever. D&D can stand to take the hit. I don't think it matters that much. But so, and now everyone's mad. Oh, go ahead.
So if you got appointed as being in charge of all of this today, what would you do? Would you leave everything just as it is right now, or would you make any further changes, or would you tell the fans just to shove it? Or
I wouldn't tell the fans to shove it as a strategic move. Like, I think if I thought I could get away with not revising the OGL, then I wouldn't, just because I don't think that's a good focus of energy. Like, I get the high, the ceiling of the first change, which is we're going to start making royalties. I could see how that's like something to chase, but once they decided to back off of that, it's like, well, kind of who even cares? It doesn't matter. Like, so at that point, it's just like, yeah, let's withdraw it. But I think, I would want, like, if it was my thing, I think I would want to go forward and continue to try and clamp down on it. But again, it's like, what are you getting out of that? I don't think I would have been the person to say this is important. Like I need to see use cases of people using D&D for hateful content and realize that there aren't other options to handle that, because it's like, if someone was doing that, I don't know, there's probably other ways you can handle it without having to resort to stuff. Maybe you can do it. I don't know. The thing is, you don't want to, the whole thing with all this shit is everyone's intentionally trolling. So if you even point out that they're trolling, like, you're kind of letting them win. So it's like, it would be nice to be like, oh, this thing is happening, so we're going to donate money to diversity efforts, or we're going to promote these, diverse creators or something instead. But even that still might kind of puff up, the trolls, if you're trying to kind of cut down on that.
I mean, I think one of the things that happened there too, which, maybe they didn't think all the way through, they brought so much attention to the kind of content they were trying to prevent. Like, I had no idea that there was this hate-filled, crazy D&D content out there until they were like,
"Hey, there is,"
we want to put a stop to it,
right?
And I think it's kind of like, not that I want stuff like that to exist, but I think it's kind of futile to try to stop people from making it. Like, we had people writing erotic fiction about you, me, and Jeff, which was hysterical. But even if we
solicited that, I think, to be fair, I think we did ask for that.
We did. I mean, maybe not exactly, me.
I think we asked for fan art and we got fanfic. But fiction is a form of art, to be sure.
Right. And, I will never forget the story about me admiring your beard. But,
yeah,
we couldn't stop people from doing that if they wanted to. And I don't know that us, trying to clamp down on that would have done anything other than make 1,000 more of them appear.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And I don't know how much, like, obviously racism and hate is bad and harmful, but like, those people are just going to be racist playing baseball or something instead. So it's like, how much harm would we really be reducing by taking this one ball away from them, especially when there's a backlash? But even if you account for the backlash, it's like, I don't think it's going to hurt like more people. Like, I don't think it's going to necessarily inspire violence. I'm down with like a zero tolerance policy for hate. I get that. But just like practically speaking, like saying like, oh, you can't play Dungeons and Dragons is like, okay, we're taking over the world because we're Nazis. Like, what is one?
Yeah. I mean, I can totally see how it happened. Some executive got 100%. Told by their son that, hey, I found Nazi D&D campaigns on the internet, and they're like, okay, legal teams find some way of stopping this.
Right.
And it got overboard. But I don't know what the right result is other than just ignoring it.
I would say cynically that it's maybe more likely that they were hoping to use that as a Trojan horse to get people on the bandwagon. Not like that wasn't a concern, but I think they were like hoping it would win them points or something. But Who knows, I don't know. What else do I have to talk about? Okay, TikTok. People be boiling Fabuloso, Kevin. You know about Fabuloso?
I do, yes.
Did you know that people boil it?
No. Why do people boil it?
Well, some households have a thing called a Fabuloso pot. which is used to boil Fabuloso or Pine Sol in some cases, because the boiling cleaning product will clean the air and make it smell nice. Which I can't. Like, what? That doesn't seem healthy, right?
I feel like that's just potpourri with more steps.
It's potpourri with more poison. Like, yeah, exactly. Potpourri with more cancer. Episode title. But yeah, I think people. This is something people do. I don't know. It blew my mind, but I found out about it because on the TikTok, it's like, the thing is, you stumble across something and it turns out this thing is like 7 layers deep of something else already, So someone was like, oh my God, my boyfriend just cooked rice in the Fabuloso pot. And you saw the rice and it had the very slightest of a purple tinge on it. And because Fabuloso is this deep purple. And so I was like, what? And then people like, there's a lot of people like me that were very confused. And I ended up Googling and figuring out what was happening. But yeah, people be boiling Fabuloso. Another thing that's happening.
I remember when I worked in an office building, the cleaning staff, every time they empty the trash cans out, they take the old bag out and they would sprinkle some Fabuloso in the bottom of the trash can and then put a new bag in. And they insisted that made it smell better. But it really, I think it just made the bag damp and it smelled perfumey for 20 minutes.
Yeah, and realistically, I guess air freshener is like the same concept. Let's put chemicals into the air, but that there's stuff that's meant to clean that's in this chemical, so it's like you're adding that to the air as well. I don't know. But okay, so another thing on on TikTok is autistic TikTok. But there's basically every kind of person has like a group and like a scene on TikTok, and autistic TikTok there's been people that say some weird shit. I don't know. I don't want to beat up on people. It's technically possible I might be autistic. I don't think so. But hey, I think it's best to go through the traits of what Steve Silberman says. We're all a mix of neurotypical and non-neurotypical traits, or neurodiverse traits. And, you might have this and not that, or that and not this, or you might be so far on the spectrum or not very, who knows? But that's how I like thinking about it. But, I heard someone say like something like, everyone knows that no autistic has ever had bad intentions, which is like, what? What is this? I sure, I could believe if you said like, chances are, 80-90% of autistic people are less malicious than normal people or whatever. But the idea that they've never had bad intentions or something is just news to me, I guess. I don't know. And another thing you see on autistic TikTok is identifying with as the only group of people that can see patterns. Like they'll say if someone like notices a pattern, people will be in the comments saying you might be autistic, and it's like, I guess, but you might have just noticed a pattern, the thing that human brains were evolved to do. Like it's not just a huge part of animal brains, but it's specifically a very huge part of human brains, and a huge part of why we're capable of language is pattern recognition. So the assertion that like anyone who could recognize a pattern is autistic was really strange to me. And yeah, and there's also just this I get it when you're in a group. I can't. This has not happened to me as a white male, I will say. But if you're in a group that's sympathizing about your plight as a marginalized person or a group of marginalized people, I think you can get kind of negative about the oppressors, right? But like the people on autistic TikTok definitely feel, or definitely seem to act very superior to normal people, or what they call allistics, which are I don't know what that means, but it's obviously as a white male I'm hypersensitive to anything that dings my ego, so maybe I'm just overreacting. But there is a very strong like sense of like, yeah, these people are bad people. Part of why they're bad is because they're neurotypical, and that makes them a bad person who always lies and is always looking for lies. And it's just this very weird corner that I've stumbled into, and I get in arguments and it's fun. but I don't know. I don't want to be seen as beating up autistic people because I'm not. I don't think this is typical. I think this is like an aberration of a very specific online group of people, But I sent a snide comment in one of them where they were like, I can't believe neurotypical people noticed a pattern. And I said, yeah, neurotypical are always noticing patterns, often often in regards to human behavior, so we can generate societal norms and social cues from those patterns. Like, that's a pattern that people are noticing. It's a pattern that non-autistic people are very good at noticing. It's arguably a pattern that autistic people are not good at noticing. So, that's just something that happened. I don't know. And Kevin is going to plug in his computer, and his camera's kind of drifting a little bit. That's interesting, but it's fine, but Kevin's going to plug in his computer, and so you're not going to hear him for a while. But that's when you see one set of tracks on the record. That's when Kevin was carrying us. In other news, I was thinking, like, Dasani is a conspiracy. I don't think Dasani water tastes so bad. It tastes so bad. And there's no reason for it to taste that bad. If you taste any water, any bottled water anywhere in the country or whatever, it's going to taste better than Dasani. It'll taste like water. And then you drink Dasani water and it tastes like poison or something. I did pull a clip. I think we lost the clip, but I pulled this clip. You could Google it. I wish I had. It's actually a little bit hard to Google, but there's like a basketball coach during an interview, like a post-game interview, where he's drinking. He has a Dasani water on the table, because of a sponsorship or whatever, and he grabs it and he drinks it. And like mid drink, his face turns. His face is replaced by an expression of disgust, and he looks at it as if he looks at the bottle, the label of the bottle, as if to say, "What the fuck?" Like, what am I drinking? And is like staring at it for a second, just kind of in utter disbelief that a bottled water could taste this bad. And then he looks to someone off screen, presumably, an office manager or supply manager or an assistant of some sort, someone who might have been involved in the decision to stock Dasani water. And he looks at the person and he shakes his head. And I'm pretty sure he mouths the word no, just as if to say, going forward, this is not going to fly. We are not going to be stocking. Are you listening to this, Kevin? You hear any of this?
No, sorry.
I was talking
my
about
laptop
that
almost
video.
died.
No, it's cool. I was talking about that video of the Dasani water, the guy drinking the Dasani water. You don't have that clip, do you? I'm sure you don't, but
no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I was describing it, but I was just getting to. I think you watched it though. I was getting to the part where he looks to someone off screen and he like shakes his head no, as if to say like, this ends now. Like, we are done stocking Dasani water in these meetings. Like, I need real water that I can drink and not feel disgusted by. But yeah, the overarching theme of what I was saying is that I don't like. There's no reason Dasani water tastes like it does. They would say it's because they're adding minerals, but other waters add minerals too. And also, if adding minerals makes it taste so bad, maybe don't add those minerals. I don't know. Like, there's no excuse. And so it's led me to believe Dasani is somehow a conspiracy. Like, there's a conspiracy happening, which is I don't know what it is, but there's some reason Dasani water tastes so bad. And if you understood what that reason was, your mind would be blown. My personal theory, Dasani is bottled by Coke. So I think they make Dasani water out of the gross uncarbonated water. Like, presumably they need these big vats or something of carbonated water to mix with syrup to make the soda. And then when they have extra water, they like divert it somewhere, and then they let it lose its carbonation, and water that's lost its carbonation still tastes like carbonated water, which is to say worse. Some people like seltzer water. I don't like it because of this flavor. It has this gross kind of not sour, kind of, I just want to say like chemically bitter or something flavor to it. And so maybe they just bottle that, and that's what Dasani water is, and that's why. But that would be honestly a pretty benevolent conspiracy. I think it goes a lot deeper than that.
Well, someone who knows chemistry a lot better than I do is probably going to correct me on this, but when you carbonate water, you create carbonic acid.
Yes.
And that stays in the water. Sorry, did you already talk about this?
No.
Okay.
I believe you're right. Continue.
Okay. But that stays in the water even after the carbonation is gone. And that does definitely affect it because it kind of gives it a baking soda kind of taste a little bit.
Yes.
So I think
Alcohol.
you're definitely onto something there if that's the taste that you're picking up on.
Yeah, it does kind of taste like that. Yeah, and carbonic acid, that is my understanding, is that it does leave it in the water. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, that was my understanding as well. But yeah, they say it's because they add minerals, but again, it's like, maybe don't then. You know, like maybe people will buy your fucking water on purpose, you know, and not just because they're dying of dehydration at Disneyland or something, you know. But yeah, I don't know. What else? Is there anything else? This is basically my whole... Oh, so I had an argument semi-recently about a phrase. Have you ever heard the phrase burning the candle at both ends?
Yes. I was just explaining it to somebody recently. Yes.
And what is that phrase? Why? In what circumstance would you use that phrase?
Basically pushing yourself really hard to the point of like, you know, you're consuming yourself to push yourself further than you should be, you know,
right.
Like
Kind of, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, just kind of like, the candle representing your energy, your life, your whatever it is. And you're trying to get so much out of it so fast that you're burning two ends of the candle at the same time because you want it to be brighter, not caring that the candle is going to run out faster.
Right. So, it's interesting you bring that up, but quick aside, I'd say it's kind of like the phrase burning the midnight oil or something, you know,
yes.
Which is maybe a bit more specific to like working through the night, but it's often that same kind of idea. It's like you're wearing yourself out. But you brought up an interesting statement. So burning the candle at both ends of the candle. Now, how would you do that?
I mean, like physically, how would you?
Yes. How would you do that?
I mean, if I were going to do it, I would take a candle and the bottom end of it, I would cut away a little bit of the wax to leave a little bit of the wick if the wick isn't visible from the bottom, and then somehow support it in the middle to light both ends.
Yeah. But it's not, you know, there's a bit of mental gymnastics or something, but it's accomplishable task, right?
Yes.
But okay, but here's the thing. Is that apparently, and I haven't looked this up, but this was the crux of the argument that I got into with my friends, is that apparently the phrase actually refers to not both ends of the candle, but both ends of the day.
I that's not how I ever interpreted that.
Thank you for leaving that silence. I think that was the perfect length of silence to accompany that information dump. But yes, I would agree that's not ever been my interpretation. And I was really mad about this because they're like, yeah, like both ends of the day, like morning and night, you know, back in the days when they had candles, you'd get up before the sunlight and then you'd have to light candles to see. The same thing at the terminal end of the day. You know, the beginning of the day is apparently its own end, right? In this metaphor. But it was getting me so mad because it's like it doesn't make any fucking sense. And I don't know. We went back and forth on it a lot of time. But my thesis is that the thing
I have
about
the answer, by the way. But go ahead.
Yeah.
No,
you go.
I want to hear your thesis first.
Well, this is just my argument. It's not what reality is. It's just why I would favor my version, right? But the thing is, objects have multiple ends, especially objects that have length, like a length of rope has two ends, right? You know, yes. Things have ends. You have the near end, the far end, the left and the right end, the top and the bottom end. You know, objects have ends, but time is linear. It goes forward in one direction. So, like, I don't think you think of linear things like that, which there's not a lot, but like a metaphysical concept like time, like, I don't think you think of it as having two ends to a length of it. You think of it as having a beginning of an end. Now, that doesn't make sense in terms of a physical object. You wouldn't say the beginning of the rope and the end of the rope at a length of rope on the ground. You know, you'd say right. There's this end and the other end. It wouldn't be beginning and the end. But with a day, it does have a beginning and an end. You know, it doesn't. You don't conceptualize that as having two ends the same way you conceptualize it as an object having two ends. And so, like, it just. And functionally, it's basically the same thing. If you're burning a candle at both ends of the candle, you're burning it twice as fast. If you're burning candle at both ends of the day, you're burning it 2 times during the day. You're burning it twice as fast. Except one makes sense to how we conceptualize both objects and linear time, and the other is supposedly the right way to say the phrase. I don't know. We got in a big argument. I was infuriated just because it's like, what? It's right there, and why can't it be the one that's obvious? And presumably the one that literally everyone on the planet assumes it is. But you actually have hard data. What are you seeing on your computer?
Okay, so it was actually derived from a French phrase, brûler de la chandelle par le debout, which means burning a candle from both ends, which was coined around the beginning of the 17th century, meaning that it was burning candles at the both ends, being a spendthrift or wasteful. Candles were very expensive, and burning both ends of the candle used it up much faster. Eventually, the candle became to symbolize one's life force, and burning the candle at both ends meant to use one's life force too quickly. And then in English, its first use was in a poem by Edna St. Vincent Millay that said, "My candle burns at both ends, it will not last the night." So by saying a candle burns at both ends,
well, that makes it sound like I am literally right and not just in the spiritual argument, which
yes, I think you are.
One of the people who I was arguing with, I'm pretty sure listens to this podcast. So he heard what he was talking about on a podcast of his own that he was listening to. And so I'm sure he'd be really surprised to find out this information, which, I mean, I'm not saying that that's definitely right, because I was willing to take the L in reality, you know, but on this spiritual noble ground, I think I'm right. But that's really interesting. But the only wrinkle there is, if you're saying like someone's being wasteful by burning a candle at both ends, that's absurd, right? Like that's an intentional absurdist thing. Like, you're so crazy, you burn money or something. Like, it's like no one would actually burn a candle at both ends unless they were like a silly, extravagant person, right? Unless like there actually was a circumstance where people were actually doing that. But in that version, it's more of like a clever insult or something, right?
Yeah. Which,
I don't know. It got me thinking about my new invention. We're going to start selling this on trophomevideo.com, the double candle. It's a candle in the shape of a V. And so it's one candle where both of the ends go up. And so you can actually burn the candle at both ends. And what's special about this candle, Kevin, is you can actually do what you suggested and melt the bottom and remove the taper of the bottom and burn it from 3 ends at once. Are you kidding me? Isn't that amazing?
That's burning. You just coined the phrase burning the candle at all 3 ends.
At all 3 ends. Because everyone knows a candle has 3 ends. And we're simply burning one at all 3. But yeah, interesting stuff. And we're learning new things every day. And, you know, language is weird, you know, and also that's the thing, is that you found that source. Who knows? That source might be wrong, because a lot of times, especially with colloquialisms and stuff, people just run with the most interesting answer, which is often not the actual answer. So I'm not considering this an open and shut case, but you know, a lot to consider.
Okay, I'm going to have to throw this up later for people, but someone on Discord just found these candles. Can you see that? So yeah, someone just found literally U-shaped candles.
They're very thick. They're like those thick boys.
Those would be very challenging to light in the middle, but I'm sure we could do it.
Yeah, you could get there.
Yeah,
it would take some time, but yeah. I don't want to spring this on you, but you don't happen to have a pitch black on hand, do you?
No,
that's fine. I want to get my friend Bill on the show. We had him on before, but we wanted to talk about wrestling. When he first came on, we were going to talk about wrestling, but we just ended up not doing that. I want to get him on to talk wrestling, but apparently this last Saturday, there was a pitch black match of wrestling at a wrestling pay-per-view or something. So
they sent me a press release about that.
They sent you a press release about that?
Yes.
Why can't I get on that email? Like, they should be, I don't know. They should be. I've certainly sold a bunch of pitch blacks already. Like, I'm a fucking Mountain Dew influencer. Like, and people don't recognize that. You know, I don't think I get enough credit for that. I mean, I'm no Badlands Chugs, but come on, you know. I'm salty. I don't blame him, but I don't blame anyone in this situation. But I had to win that contest to get the Baja deep dive. I just won the contest. Whereas Badlands Chugs, he just got them sent to him. Which again, he has a massive internet following. It's completely reasonable. But I'm like, man, they should give me some fucking. I have to win a contest. Same shit with the fucking hot sauce. You know about this Baja Blast hot sauce?
Yes, I really want this so badly.
Don't you need to win a contest? Like, I don't think you could just buy that.
Yeah, it's like they only made 1,000 bottles of it or something.
I bet Badlands Chugs gonna get one, not me, motherfucker. Nah, he's cool. I like his videos. He's really good at drinking soda. Have you ever watched him?
No, I don't watch anything.
He has these giant glasses that can hold like upwards of 2 liters, and he'll like chug entire 2-liter bottles of soda and stuff. It's amazing. It's I don't know. I'm not a big YouTube guy, but YouTube people are like the height of very specific human achievements. like they're all over the place. There's all masters of their game, but just in very strange areas that you would never think of. But yeah, what did I think I had the idea to use the AI, the chat GPT to suggest improv suggestions. Like at an improv show, you're like, can I get a location or something? I was like, what if you try and just get a fucking just improv suggestions from the AI? I thought that could be funny, but we don't have time to do that. We got to set up for that. But the thing is, we need Jeff's cooperation. I really want to get an AI Jeff, like a deep fake Jeff. I think that would be really good for our show if we could, have a robot Jeff that you type in text strings and he'll save them as Jeff. I think that could be amazing. And
I don't at all have this ready, but I have been playing with something like that where we could do this even without Jeff's cooperation. I don't know if Jeff would sue us over this, but I think we could do this. I have enough Jeff voice samples that I could do this.
I think we gotta move forward, because it could potentially be the best thing that's ever happened on the planet. If we get a robot Jeff in here, it could be amazing. Think about all the crazy stories we could write and have him tell, and it'll be like, Jeff and his stories. Like I think there's quite a lot, like quite a lot of rope we could use, and people would be like, yeah, this sounds like a Jeff story. It couldn't happen to anyone else. I don't know, man. But one thing I do know about is soda. That's right, folks. We're not going to try soda today. But I do say the same things every podcast. Oh, speaking of which, Nazis are at it again. You hear about this? There's like a Nazi homeschooling network online. Have you read about this?
No, I haven't.
There's like a group of, like a Telegram group or some online group of like 2,500 parents who are involved in a Nazi homeschool network where they collaborate to teach their kids to be good Nazis. So, more fuel in the fire of kill them all, I think. It's not good, man. It's really bad. There's other Nazi shit too. I just can't even. The fucking cops are killing everybody all the time now. It's not good. LAPD is going to get one of those robot dogs, but whatever. It's not good. People keep dying, man. Just read that LAPD shot a guy who was a double amputee, had no legs. So you can imagine the threat he was posing to the officers. And it turns out he lost his legs because he was shot by LAPD in the past. He had to get his legs amputated. Can you imagine? And he had family, dude. Can you imagine having a family, getting your legs shot off by cops, and then later the cops show up and kill you? Like, I just like, I don't know. When people say abolish the police, I really think we should probably give the death penalty to most of them. I think it's really bad. I think we live in fascism now. I used to be a bit less negative on this, but I think like this the violent police state that we've cultivated is like a massive hallmark of fascism. You had protesters for Tyree Nichols in LA where there were peaceful protests, but Nazis would show up wearing masks and start assaulting, sometimes with like weapons, like rods, like bats or whatever, just start attacking protesters like literally 10 feet away from the cops, and the cops just stand there like watching it happen, being like, yeah, this is fine that people are committing an assault. Any one of those people throws a single bottle and suddenly they're just going to light up the entire city block with, rubber bullets and shit. But watching someone commit wanton assault, a spree of felony assault, that's fine because they're on our side, which is the Nazi side. Really not good. If you're a cop, you're essentially a terrorist, and I it's not good. And if you're a cop who's not a terrorist, stop. Like, do anything else. Like, prove that you're a good one by not being one. But yeah, man, it's bad. It's bad. I just like, that's what's gonna fucking kill us all. Is the Nazis are just gonna do shit, and the cops are gonna protect them again, like they always do. That happened a lot in Portland too. The Nazis collaborating with the police, and then sometimes they collaborate, like they literally message each other and coordinate, and that's weird. But everything's stacked against the left. No one gives a shit about what we think, and everyone bends over backwards to suck the dicks of the right. I guess you're not supposed to say that. It's like gay, or it's like gay bashing. I don't think of it that way. I think of it as being like, like you're doing a great favor to someone, like that's what it's about. It's about like, oh, you're going so far to do this to aid someone, to me. But hey, whatever. If I'm canceled, that's it. I deserve it. I'm not a good person. Are you kidding me? People I've done, what I've seen, holy shit. Speaking of what I've seen, what about this Rick and Morty stuff, huh? Anyway, that's our show. You got anything to plug, Kevin?
I don't know how I'm going to top that. No. No, I just check out shrubhomevideo.com on Sundays. We do all kinds of crazy things. Jim Mahfood does a show called Stall Funk to Draw. He's a great comic book artist, and he plays some funk music while he's drawing. And then we've got either Abed or Callie who does a talk show. And then there's always me and Spencer and maybe Jeff one day. And Real Life Sci-Fi is on after that, where they discuss, conspiracy theories and things like that, followed by Rob Schraub, who produces some crazy, bizarre, amazing things to watch every week. So we've always got something interesting to watch. It's live every Sunday night at shrubhomevideo.com. Yeah,
man. Check out the Abed Hour. We got to get Abed back on.
The exclusive way on the internet to watch Jeff Davis.
Yeah, it's the only way you're gonna get him, man. But yeah, I don't know. This is a bit early, but we're not in time. We're not timing. We're not actually in a block. We don't have to care about the schedule exactly. But so yeah, that's the show. We like to end the show the same way we do always. And so until next time, enjoy your burrito. Have we done that one?
No, I don't think we have. Enjoy your burrito, everybody.
Yep.
Starburns Audio.